I'm already loved more than I could imagine.
Okay.
All right. Welcome in.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our Kingdom REI monthly call, where we gather together as a community. A really special treat for everybody today. We have an incredible guest speaker who's going to be joining us, Dave Snyder, who's with us. I'm going to get a chance to introduce him too. Cheryl, will you be ready to pull up his bio here in just a minute? If you'll just you'll pull that up here for us. I want everybody to have a chance to see that, and we'll get him introduced. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Excited to be here. Any big updates or wins that anybody wants to share? I feel like we go a long time without seeing one another. Anybody's got here to share to the community today? Would love to hear.
Good. How are you? I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Just anything that's worth making note of or sharing today. I actually can, now that I hear you, I would love for you to share, if it's not too late, on what you guys have coming up, just to make sure everyone knows.
Yeah, absolutely. We, Rachel and I have done this once already. We're putting on our second cohort of teaching people how to underwrite properties. We're going to go tour a couple of properties.
Get into mechanicals.
And get in the nitty gritty of how to examine a property and see if it's worth actually submitting an LOI on. Our event is coming up on February 22nd, 23rd, and 24th in Des Moines, Iowa, the lovely city of Des Moines, Iowa, where we have a couple of properties that we are eager to show folks, and we're eager to teach you what we know. Rachel and I have been at this since 2019, and we ourselves took formal training, and we feel as well, I think as Ellis does, that this is a natural extension to the accelerator program that Kingdom REI does. And we're very excited to meet with you in person and do the training with you. Thursday night, we're going to have a networking and order event at a local establishment, so you'll get to actually meet our partners, Jennifer and Thomas Wassett, as well as a bunch of other people in the market who are also real estate entrepreneurs, and we're looking forward to that being a great kickoff to the event. What else do we have?
Hey, Cheryl, real quick, will you drop the link in the chat? When's the deadline to sign up, guys? Is it Friday?
Yep.
Yeah, deadline is Friday to sign up. So if you want to go and attend that event, we do have several members of our community going to that. So be sure to grab a ticket for that event and go spend the weekend with Ken and Rach. I know, just getting boots on the ground. I mean, how many people have partnered with you guys inside this community? 8 probably, or more?
That's up to 10. It's up to 10 now.
Yeah, so double digits. You know,
that's one of the neat things about this. When we did our first group, most of those people ended up partnering with us on our McKinley property, one of the properties that we're actually going to. And some of them even partnered with us on a 136-unit property before that. So that's what we look forward to.
Well, and the 48 before that too.
And
Dave.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. We love being with everybody. It's so much fun.
Yeah. All right. oneconnectionway.com/weekend. Go check that out. Guys, really delighted to be here together on Wednesday. I'm grateful for this community that we have this, a chance to really grow together in our understanding of how to run and be a great, operator and multifamily investor or commercial real estate investor, but also just a chance to gather and really hear from folks who are not only, I would say excelling and being excellent in business, but men and women who really do love God and fear the Lord and really want to see his kingdom expand. And I'm incredibly honored. Do we have his bio? We can pull up Cheryl to have Dave here on the call with us. I got to meet you, Dave. I don't know. We got to sit together at lunch last year, and
Yeah.
it was just a great experience. If you haven't met David or haven't read any of his stuff, he is the CEO of Continental Realty Group. What I'm so excited, and there's so much about you that I could share. I just want my audience to have context on two things. Here's a guy who has over $2 billion, okay, of commercial real estate experience. That's a whole lot more than I think maybe anyone we've ever had on the call. And David, you might say you've just been doing it a lot longer, huh? He's been doing it a really long time. And if there's anything, what I think really is cool about that, there's a couple things I want to share. There's nothing that you're going through today that likely can't be solved or answered from David's experience, right? That he hasn't seen, gone through, overcome. And so I just want you to know, like, I'm incredibly grateful to have him here today to be able to speak directly with this community about anything that we're going through. He's going to share a little bit and we'll have some time to interact with him. So whatever that is for you today, just know, like, if it's small or if it's big, he's probably seen it. So just be ready to bring in any questions or thoughts. The second thing that I love about David and what I would say maybe you're way more passionate about is this idea of missional living inside of apartment communities, not just in his portfolio, but man, you probably travel more getting this message out to other apartment owners and industry leaders than you even do trying to buy real estate this day. And so an incredibly evangelistic, missional minded man of God who really sees this industry, the multifamily space, as an incredible way for Jesus to be glorified, for people to come to know of our amazing Savior. And so, David, welcome to the Kingdom REI community. Grateful to have you, brother.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Well, hey, is there anything else that maybe share a little bit kind of your own bio from your own story, just, what you're focused on today, so people get a little bit of context on what Continental is and then some focuses as the head of that group.
Well, I want to correct you, but in the right way. I'm not being egotistical about it, but my guys came in yesterday and they said, well, that information that you gave out, your numbers are wrong. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, the number is 4.7 billion, not 2 billion.
Yeah. See, the thing when you get to billions, you just start adding billions. You don't add by the millions anymore. And I think that's hilarious.
And the reason I share that is not from an egotistical standpoint, but by all rights, I should be a retired factory worker in Peoria, Illinois. And it's just interesting how God takes you in different parts of life. And he took me out of a very much a poverty background, and then I was involved in sports a lot, and I played basketball for Southern Illinois University, and then he brought me into to real estate, and the numbers sound big, but the person behind it is unqualified to be there. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And one of my favorite life verses is 2 Chronicles 16:9. It says, "For the eyes of the Lord range to and fro throughout the earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose hearts are fully committed to him." And we don't live like that. We don't live like that. And that's, there's so many days I don't live that verse out, like the eyes of the Lord are ranging throughout the earth to show himself strong on my behalf. And I don't live like that. And so the reason I brought up the numbers, not to be egotistical, but I'm not qualified to do that. And I shouldn't be there. And God, has just directed me over the years, to accomplish these things. And I started the company in 1982 when I was 6. No, I'm just kidding. I can't be this old, but so the company's 41 years old, and from the very beginning, we've tried to make money by meeting people's housing needs. We make money by meeting needs and being sensitive to needs, and I just love multifamily housing. That's all that we do. Um, and God got a hold of me in the early 90s and really convicted me. God talks to me through a hot tub, and I sit in the hot tub at night and I pray and I do different things, and God just really convicted me one night. He goes, because I was really full of myself, saying, "Boy, God, we've got this internal rate of return of at the time 24.5%, and this and that. We're doing all this, and He just said to me, He said, he said, well, I understand your IRR. He goes, but when you get to heaven, he goes, what's your ERR? What's your eternal rate of return? And he says, you got 8,000 apartment units across the country. You got all these tenants. Can you tell me one name? Just one. Just tell me one name. Can you tell me some of the employees? Can you tell me? And I couldn't tell him any of that. And and it was so convicting for me, and so ever since then, we've run our business as a platform uh, of influence in people's lives. And that's what our purpose is. Our function is commercial excellence and in research, but our business, our purpose is impacting people's lives through influence. And we use multifamily as a platform for ministry, and it's just an honor to do that. But my point I was trying to make initially there, guys, is that those numbers are big, and I don't deserve that. But God just sort of takes you where He wants you to go, and you just keep following Him.
David, I know there's a lot we want to chat about. And before we talked about a couple of different things. I think and I'll let you take it from here. But the one thing I wanted you to start with, and we'll get more into even maybe some ways people can live missionally and the things they're doing. But I want to start, especially just in the last probably year we've had with multifamily and the struggles and the things that are happening. You've seen lots of ups and downs. You've even had your own that we talked about at lunch that time. A lot of this community, and I see a lot of faces on the call today, are within the first, beginning their portfolio, right? And Ken and Rachel have already had a career, but they're also still beginning and building this portfolio. And so age is not necessarily what I'm talking about, but maybe experience in building and establishing something that can maybe outlast you, which is clearly what's going to happen with your legacy. Can you share some thoughts or some principles that maybe you've developed or learned over your 30-year career for folks who want to be in this a long time, who want to be in this investing space a long time and have longevity in this field of real estate investing?
I think the biggest thing that I would like to share with people is so many people I meet, they want credit for believing in God, and I tell them, well, hell, the devil believes in God. I mean, you want credit for that? Believing in God and believing in God's provision are two different things. And when you're in business, when you're starting a business, when you're an investor, if you truly are believing that God owns it all and you're executing a plan as a steward, you come into contact with God's provision. And oftentimes the timing of His provision is not the same timing as yours. And it's very frustrating because I can't figure it out, because God does not ask my opinion on anything. And I think I have a good opinion, but he doesn't. But He doesn't ask my opinion, but His timing is different. And everybody makes all these assumptions when they hear big numbers, from our company and stuff. What they don't realize is that in the downturn of 1988, we went from 150 employees to 6. and it was tough. But it's just amazing how God works in these things. I laid off all these people, and during the exit interviews, 39 people came to know the Lord. I mean, it's weird. It was a interesting experience, and it was of value, even though we were downsizing. We had to learn how to financially breathe. There's times you expand, there's times you contract. You know, you have to respect the market. You're not going to be successful in spite of the market. You have to respect the market that you're dealing in. And we contracted down to 6. We not only contracted down to 6, but the remaining, we had all these millions of investments with some of our institutions and stuff. And we decided to run the company with no debt because we wanted to really run on biblical principles. And so during that time, I was driving my Jaguar to a local dairy at night and delivering milk from 10:45 at night to 6:45 in the morning, and to earn extra money. And then I go to work at 9 and work trying to cut deals and do all this stuff during the daytime. I had other guys that worked as janitors or inventory people. And some of those people, we solidified so much during that time. They stayed with me and retired after 37 years with me. But there's times where we just had to survive, is my point. There's times where we had to depend on God's provision. We had to respect the market. And what was interesting is that was like a 2 to 2.5 year period of struggle there. But because we had no debt, because we had paid attention and were poised to take on the market. When the market came back in 1991, we were able to do extremely well and acquire a lot of properties. But it was 2.5 years of survival, you know, and not only survival of what, working on my ego as a milkman. You know, and but that's the way it is, you know. And there's times when you survive, and there's times when you come out to the market. We had, during that time, in 2.5 years, we ended up doing one transaction, very, very sparse production. And when the market finally came back, because we had no debt, because we were poised to do that, we did 300 million in the next year. And in 1991, that was a lot. And so there's just those times, you know. There's times of famine in the Bible. There's times of plenty, and there, you know, and believing and working on God's provision and being at peace about that, being able to sleep at night when, you know, things aren't going according to your plan, but you've just got to hand it over to God and depend on his provision. That's one of the things that I want to encourage, you know, people, because it's a learning time. It's a time that God can wrap his hands around you and teach you and be with you. And these tough times, I've just learned to love the tough times. I mean, I love COVID. I love, you know, hurricanes. I love all these things, because they're all points of ministry where people are willing to listen, you know, to our influence. And we have ministry partners on each one of our apartment communities around the country, and that spend 50 hours a month in ministry towards our residents. And they also help do all the entertainment and other things, social events and things in our communities. And we train them. And then we also use a third-party company to come in and that specializes in that. And it was just amazing. You know, we had 2,000 units in Houston, and Hurricane Katrina hit. And, you know, it was just such a blessing, because you know, everybody had their nose bloodied and they were second guessing themselves. And all of a sudden we were able to come in and walk alongside of our residents and help out and have influence. And because of the way we conducted ourselves during that time, the residents were so loyal to us. And even the investors that we have that are non-Christian and institutional, they love what we do because our returns are higher because of the way we treat our residents. And one reason our returns are higher is when you're serving the residents and you truly believe bring community to them, they're willing to incur the rent increases that we need over the years, at the same time, because it's an important community to them. And that's part of making money by meeting people's needs.
I don't want to fill this time up too much, Dave, because I really want to leave some time for people just to interact with you. But I would love to hear. Well, let me ask you this. In terms of kind of moving towards missional communities, are there some things did you have some slides you wanted to share, or do you just want to maybe chat about some things that maybe you've been sharing most recent with some groups that you think would be relevant?
Yeah, I'll be glad to share a few things. And if you could share that one slide about calling, that would be helpful.
Is your team here on David, or did you send those slides to us?
Yeah, you guys have it.
Cheryl, do you have that? Let me pull that up.
If not, that's fine. I can.
Well, let me just confirm Cheryl has them. Cheryl, are you there? Can you let us know if you have them? You're pulling them up.
Yeah, sure. I'll just pull up the slides. 1 second.
Thank you.
Thank you. But one of the things about being more missional that affects the bottom line is really our methodology. I've been at some conferences and other things recently and talked to people that were Christians in real estate and were building portfolios. Some were new to the business, some were veterans, and I made it a point to ask a lot of these people, what's your methodology? And one guy told me, he goes, well, everything we buy, we give God 5% of the profits. I said, yeah, but I ask you your methodology. He goes, yeah, that's God blesses our business because we give him 5% of the profits. And I said, first of all, we got a small problem here because the Bible says 10%. So you're shortchanging God right off the bat. And you're acting like God's a divine mechanic. He's going to come and make things happen for you in spite of everything else, just because you're willing to give him 5%. I don't get that. I asked another guy that bought quite a few units. I said, what's your methodology? He says, if you can raise money for it, it must be a good deal. And that's our methodology. I said, so you don't pay attention to demand or anything else. If you raise money, it must be a good deal. He goes, yeah, that's really a proven, formula for us. And which really scares me, I might add. And what I really want to try to encourage people is to have an excellent methodology. Some people ask me, they say, what's the difference between your company as a company founded on Christian values and a secular company? And I tell them, I said, if you're talking about the function of what we do, the difference between us and a secular company, there is no difference. We are excellent in the function of our company on a secular basis. And we're very, very similar and exceed in other people on a secular basis. But if you're talking about the purpose of what we do, the purpose is totally different, And when a professional race car driver, his race car has the same function as my wife's car that she uses to go to the store and get bread with. It turns potential energy into kinetic energy, but the purpose is different, right? I mean, he's using his similar function, but he's using it in a different way, to achieve purpose. And we pay attention to the function of what we do. And I like to encourage everybody that I talk to, figure out what your function is and do it to a point of excellence. Daniel in the Bible was somebody that excelled on a functional basis in secular circles. He was great politically, he was a great leader, people respected him, but his purpose was something different, but his function was excellent. And with our company here, we spend between $1 million and $2 million a year just in economic research. And we monitor the top 100 markets in the country. We monitor every apartment building in those markets, 50 units and above. We split those markets into submarkets, and we track job movements and job expansions and contractions in all those markets. So all of our investments are based on demand. We've figured out a long time ago that people live within a 20-minute drive time of where they work. They live within a 20-minute drive time of where they play, which is retail. They live close to transportation sources, whether it be freeways, light rail, et cetera, and educational sources. And we split that up on a nationwide basis. Houston has 64 submarkets, Dallas is 56, Denver's 47 markets, Phoenix is, I forget what Phoenix is, 42 or something like that. And we track we track every medical expansion in the country, 50 million and above. We track logistical expansions. So when a new hospital goes in, people think, oh, great, there's a hospital going in. No, that hospital is a medical facility. It's going to have 6,000 resident or 6,000 employees there. We know the average income of those employees. We know what percentage of those employees are going to be renters. And most of those renters are going to live within a 20-minute drive time of their job. And we track that on a city by city basis. And so we not only track the demand for multifamily, we track the velocity of the demand. And then we just start investing in the path of that demand. When Union Village Healthcare is going into Vegas in the Henderson area. Well, Union Village Healthcare is going to employ 15,000 medical professionals over the next 3 years. And we're buying up properties that are in the path, that will meet their housing needs. Cerner Healthcare is going into Kansas City. They bought the Bannister Mall there and are putting in 10,000 people in their headquarters there. That's an economic event. We start buying up there, and we have a real methodology to what we do, and that's why institutions and high net worth individuals invest with us, because we have a methodology, and some of our partners are Mercedes-Benz Pension Fund and Nippon Steel and different groups like that. And then we have a lot of high net worth individuals, but it's not based on our credibility. It's based on the methodology of the investment. They trust the methodology because we're always defining what the demand is. I don't care whether it's demand in Charlotte or in Atlanta, Memphis, Kansas City. We are identifying the demand, where the demand exists, and then we invest in the path of that demand. But then our purpose is totally different. Our purpose is to love the people, to walk alongside of our residents, and to earn the right to speak into their lives. And that's the missional part that Ellis was talking about. These catastrophes in the U.S. have been a blessing to us in many ways. I mentioned Hurricane Katrina in Houston. We were able to really impact our residents there. In Las Vegas, when the Las Vegas shootings happened, we had 6 residents and employees that were shot in the Las Vegas massacre, and none of them died. They were injured, but it allowed us to go in, and people were worried, and people were anxious, and it allowed us to go in and walk alongside of the people and love them and bring the church in to minister to them and be there, at a time of need. And so a lot of people look at catastrophes like it's a big a big issue, a big problem. Sometimes God brings catastrophes into our lives as a point where people start second guessing their own provision, and they start looking to God and his provision. And it's easy for us, to point that out. And it's just been very rewarding. And that's why we have such loyalty with our residents. The average turnover in multifamily in America is 75% a year. Once we've been in control of a property for a year, our average turnover drops to around 36%. And people stay longer. They're getting their needs met. And to us, community is, by the way, can you put that slide up again? And, if you don't mind. To us, community is really meeting people's needs. And if you could go to the next slide, I'd appreciate that. There you go. Yeah, almost there. Okay. Community to us is over on the right-hand side. And that is we're promoting personal wholeness, whether it's our employees or people living in our communities. We want to take care of their physical well-being, their spiritual well-being, their emotional well-being, their relational well-being, their financial well-being, and their professional well-being. That is a whole person. To me, that's what discipleship is. Jesus just didn't take care of people spiritually, and that's it. He met their needs physically. He met their food needs. He met their emotional needs. He talked to them about their relational needs, and financial education on our properties, emotional education, emotional help on our properties is so impacting. On the left-hand side is what the purpose is of our foundation, and that is we're trying to cultivate and nurture a multi-housing, faith-based ecosystem in America today. It is so important, and it's such an opportunity for us to do that. I don't care if we're an owner of a duplex or you're an owner of thousands of apartment units. We've got the ability to affect the people that live in our community, and we can promote personal wholeness and community. I mean, I almost hate the word community because it's such a buzzword that people just buzz by, but to us, there's 6 pillars of community. And when we are working to influence everybody we deal with, physically and spiritually, emotionally, relationally, financially, and professionally, that is our mission. And it is so important to us. And can you go to the previous slide? And the reason we got there, a lot of people said, well, God's given me a passion for this, and I'm doing this, or God's given me this purpose, or I'm doing, well, it's actually more than that. To us, we encourage people to pray and determine what their God-given passion is. Your passion may be different than my passion. And he's also given you a God-given purpose, and to determine what that God-given purpose is and what your God-given potential is. My potential in 1982 was a lot different than my potential now from a financial standpoint. From a maturity standpoint, it was much different because I wasn't very mature and my potential was different. But the intersection of those 3 circles is your calling. And I find so many people that are confused as to what their purpose is in life, and they just, all they're after is their purpose. And in actuality, what we're trying to influence people to is, let's humbly go to God and pray and understand what the passion is that he's given us. What is the passion he's given me? What is the purpose he's given me? And what is the potential he's given me? And the intersection of those 3 circles is my calling. And the calling is something I'm confident into. When you determine your calling, you're able to be very efficient. You're pursuing what you feel your God-given calling is with 100% of your effort. And all these other people that bring other options and this and that, there's these shiny things to pursue. It's easy to say no because you know what your calling is. That's what you're called to do. Just because somebody else has a shiny object and a this and that, that's not your calling. Say no and be efficient. Everybody always wants me to, well, let's get involved in office. Let's get involved in warehousing, or let's get involved in retail. No, God has called us to multifamily real estate. He may have called you to that. That's great. That's fine. But our calling is multifamily real estate, to influence people in multifamily and to create true community in America today and impact that through our calling. I always like to tell people that, your job is what you're paid to do, but our calling is what we're made to do. And figuring out what your calling is so important. It just gives you so much confidence because you can just go forward and in the comfort, of his calling. Can you go back to the other slide for a minute? Thank you. So what we've done, besides what we do on a secular basis, we have investment funds and investment pursuits at Continental Realty Group, where we bring in institutions and high net worth individuals and ourselves, and we own properties in different parts of the country. But we've also created CGF, which stands for the Community Growth Foundation. And we've funded the part of that. We have other investors funding part of that. And these things in the center of Community Growth Foundation are 4 pillars that we're pursuing. We're pursuing ownership, development, community support, Mission 98, real estate management 98, and then mentoring and special events to influence people around the country. What we're trying to do in the ownership development is we're doing a fund where the goal is to have 2,000 units in 10 cities across the country. And we have probably, I forget, three or 400 million now already in this pillar that is being built or owned. And the goal is to have 2,000 units in 10 cities, where it's not only our investments and our developments, but we're also funding proven operators in those cities also. And then those units will be used also as internships for people that want to get into property management on a faith-based mission and be trained in property management where they can reach out to people's lives. Mission 98 is multi-housing ministry in churches, and we are setting up right now 4 pilot churches in different parts of the country, and we're teaching churches how to have a successful multi-housing ministry in their area. And we went into a church in North Phoenix, and we gave them a report. We said, look, 3 miles from your church, you've got 11,788 apartment units, 2.5 people per unit. That's 29,000 people. The statistics show that 98% of multifamily residents are unchurched. That's 26,000 people in a 3-mile radius of your church. What are you going to do about it? And, they looked at me and they go, well, you sort of dropped a bomb on us. I said, yeah, we did. But I said, it's embarrassing to me as a Christian in America today that we drive to church on Sunday and we drive by an average of 15 or 16 apartment communities on our way to church. And then we go to church, we talk about doing a mission trip to Uganda. So I don't get it. We're ignoring the multifamily opportunity right in front of us of this segment of people that are unchurched. And I've been blessed in my life to be part of a multi-housing ministry in Denver, and that was very successful. We had 6 different apartment communities, 2 condo communities that we went after. And what was amazing is if you walked up to 10 people in our church and it said, hey, what kind of ministry are you involved in? 7 out of 10 of them would say, hey, I'm in multi-housing ministry. They didn't say children's ministries. They didn't say choir. It said, I'm in multi-housing ministry. We had older people in the church that were going to the apartments and mentoring people. We're teaching young women how to cook. We were teaching young women childcare. And I might add, these are all economic levels of apartments. We had 2 mechanics there in the church that work for car dealerships. These guys usually don't get involved in ministries at all. They were going out to, when I asked them, they go, well, we're in multi-housing ministry. We go out to these apartment communities and we take care of all the single moms' cars 2 Saturdays a month, and do all the whatever, maintenance and stuff like that there. We have people going out teaching financial education and Crown Ministry, Bible studies, and financial education there. The young people in our church, 30, 40 something young people, were going out and organizing foodie nights where they would either go out to a restaurant or bring a restaurant in to the clubhouse and enjoy certain types of food at a discounted price. And just the church enveloped the multifamily property as part of their community. We had hiking clubs, we have snowmobiling clubs and ski clubs. We would include the people in these multifamily ministries in our activities at church, and they became part of our community. And what's exciting about this, guys, is we went to that church. We said, look, you bring us a director of multi-housing ministries for your church. And we don't want a babysitter. We want a player. You bring us somebody that can mobilize a multi-housing ministry for your church. You bring us 10 to 20 volunteers that will commit 3 years to this ministry, and we'll come in, we'll pay half the cost. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. What are you going to do about it? We've met in Phoenix now, and that ministry director has been identified. There was such a response from the people in the church, they raised $370,000 for this ministry, for the budget. And we flew to Kansas City, and the following week met with 2 churches there, did the same thing. We have pilot churches that are starting in Kansas City. In Albuquerque, we have 1,800 apartment units in Albuquerque, and we have not yet secured the church yet for that pilot church, but we will do so in the next 30 days. And we flew to Austin and San Antonio, and we have churches there that are stepping up, and they are determined to be a ministry outreach to multifamily in their community. I mean, 37% of our population lives in multifamily today. And the studies show that 98% of those people are unchurched. And that's where this Mission 98 comes from. And you can tell I get excited about it, but we really need to impact the multifamily communities in our country. And that's what this is all about. The next pillar there is Real Estate Management 98. And that is trying to improve the management personnel in multifamily management. There are no educational requirements in America today to be a multifamily manager, and the training is terrible. The bar is set very low. We are working with certain Christian universities across the country to design a curriculum of faith-based multifamily ministry or multifamily management in those Christian universities, both on a certificate basis and on a degree program. And those things are being designed, and people are coming in, help funding those things as we speak. So it's very exciting. And then the mentoring and special events outreach is creating redemptive real estate summits and meetings across the country where we can bring like-minded people like yourselves together to just discuss ideas of how we can meet people's needs. So other than that, I'm don't have anything to do. So,
Yeah, I want to pause real quick, just and leave some time. I mean, the vision. I mean, what you guys are building clearly pioneers, and I mean, just even that idea of curriculum. I don't think you shared that with me. I think that's pretty amazing. Cheryl, let's stop sharing for a minute. Dave, if you would, let's pause. I want to just open up the forum a little bit. One, for anyone to share anything that's maybe struck them as encouraging or challenging, and of course, if there's any questions as well, please feel free to turn your mic on and share, everybody.
Hey, David.
hi.
Nice to meet you. It's exciting to see and hear what you guys have been doing. How long would you say you've been doing this part of it?
Well, we started the foundation 4 years ago,
Okay.
and so we've been doing this type of work in our company for 40 years, but we started the foundation 4 years ago, and we're and the vision of this foundation will not happen unless we get real estate people and professionals across the country to come in and get behind it. This is something that's bigger than me, and should be, but it's a great challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so with that being said, I know you said you have the 4 pilot churches. Are you, is your summit or your Redemptive 98 an opportunity for operators like us who have multifamily properties for us to kind of come and learn and see how we can come alongside you? We're building our build to rent product, and we're putting what we're calling CROs, community resource officers, on site.
Uh-huh.
And tying that in with the local churches and things like that, but doing it in a way that is like you. They're teaching
Yeah.
classes on site, they're tutoring, they're doing things like that. So I was wondering if it might be a way that we could come and maybe learn at your guys' feet, so to speak, in a much more productive and quick way.
Sure. And what markets are you in?
So the build to rent projects are in the south, right along that I-10. So they're in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is outside of Baton Rouge. Mobile, Alabama, and all the way over to Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay. Well, when we had the first ever summit in Santa Barbara in November, and had about 200 people there around the country, had different operators that were faith-based, sharing things that work for them, just sharing all sorts of things and encouraging everybody. I had, there were people there from Alexandria, Virginia, that they just bought their second duplex, and Tom Cunningham, one of my partners, was there, who's the president of Kojima USA, and Kojima is the largest construction company in Japan, and they have a $13 billion cash position on their balance sheet. So it sort of shows you the range of people there, right? And but they all love the Lord, right? And they all, were changing methodologies, and I just thought it was interesting because Tom told me he found this so challenging in his own personal life, and the same people that we know that bought their second duplex, they said had the same thing. I mean, the Lord was really working there, and is really sharing. And one of the guys that was there, that's a speaker, is out of Birmingham in your area, Weldon Field, Chuck Weldon, and they have they employ a chief spiritual officer, and I forget some other title, 2 guys that operate on their properties. They have a number of properties in the southeast, and we're sponsoring in April a immersion event where people can sign up and come down and go to a 2 or 3 day immersion of Chuck's staff and what they're doing, what works, what doesn't work, and things like that. John Marsh is
I know John.
you know John. Well,
I'm friends with John.
he's doing all sorts of work with turning a town around. They're going to do an immersion event, and we'll be doing the same thing out west. So we one of the things that we need to battle, that initial slide I had, we're working to establish a faith-based ecosystem. But what are we fighting against? We're fighting against all these Christians and everybody else in real estate where we operate in different silos. I do my thing. I could care less what you do your thing, and we got all these different silos. It's like the Satan is dividing and conquering our efforts. And so one of the things we're trying to do is just, to really bring people together to learn quicker. I mean, I would love it if people could learn from my mistakes, because I made some really stupid mistakes.
We'll make plenty of our own, sure.
Yeah, my hall of shame is much bigger than my hall of fame, and it's another story. But
Do you have information about your immersion event? I'd love to hear, or when the next summit is, or anything like that. I'd love to be able to connect if you could.
The next summit we're planning, it's still being finalized, but we're hoping to have in Dallas in November of this year is the projection. And it'll be just a time to really bring people together and help educate, share solutions, and just motivate each other, because sometimes people get off too much on the ministry and the purpose of what they do, and they don't pay attention to the function. And the fact of the matter is, the function of their company sucks.
Yep.
I mean, I'm being very blunt.
Been there, done that.
And you have to pay attention to that. We're called to a point of excellence. I've had people deal with me just from an accounting standpoint. When it comes to accounting with our funds and our investments, there is no best efforts basis. It's either done right or you're fired. There is no best efforts here. It's accounting. It's not rocket science, and it has to be done exact. And our investors have to depend on it. And the donors have to depend on it. There is no alternative. And so I get a little harsh sometimes, but we have to be known for excellence, and we have to provide an environment in Christendom that promotes excellence in operators all over the country, where we come together and learn from each other, and really motivate each other to have the highest caliber function of what God's called us to do.
Absolutely. No, I 100% agree. And I think too many times, just like you said, how we have that level of excellence, and we demand that, because when we're talking about being a fiduciary for somebody else's investment, so why would we not do that, right? And why would we not? But then instead the world comes back at, oh, well, you're not being nice. Oh, you're not, just because you're literally holding a line of excellence. And it's like, this has nothing to do with nice. It has to do with standards, right? And sticking to a standard.
The Bible is a book of accountability, and yet how many Christians act like it? We forget about accountability. When we deal with management companies, we deal at a point of accountability. We have an agreed upon budget. They are agreeing to that budget. We're agreeing to that budget. We sweep all the cash 5 times a month. We control the cash. We fund them for what the agreed upon budget is for that particular month. And if there's any surprises, which, as we all know, there's surprises and things, if there's any surprises, they have to get written authorization from our investment managers in order for us to fund that surprise. If they don't, and they obligate us to a 10% variance of any one line item, they're personally liable for it. And
that's great.
We don't fool around with that. It's accountability, and it's performance, and it's communication, and the function, is excellent. And it's not meant to be, we're not known as a Christian hard ass. We're known as Christians that love and empower the people that operate with us, the vendors, but we're accountable, and we're accountable on our end. We expect them to be accountable on their end. And those are the type of things that we like to try to influence with other operators around the country, to let them know that, hey, that's okay to hold people accountable.
Right?
That's right on. Please, guys, ask your questions. Any feedback, would love to hear from you.
David, do you guys have third-party property management then, or do you have in-house?
Yes.
All the above? Okay.
Well, we have a hybrid management program. We've self-managed to the tune of 10,000 units. We've third-party managed to the tune of 10,000 units. I hate them both. I just hate management people. I don't like them. There's problems with both things. A self-manager doesn't have access to all the intellectual capital that a third-party manager has oftentimes. As a self-manager, like we have 2 properties in Kansas City. Well, we don't have, when we have a person turnover at one of our positions, we don't have the available personnel that Fogelman or Lincoln or some of the other Gray Star, some of the other managers have. They have 1,500 candidates and we have 1. Well, with self-management, if you go without a key individual for 6 to 9 months and it takes you that long to fill that position, you've got a ship without a captain, and then you wonder why you haven't achieved your financial goals. Now, self-management, you watch the income and expenses better than anybody else. But when it comes to employee turnover and stuff, self-management is very difficult. And also, you end up at a point where you're not aligned with your investors. If you build a self-management organization in a specific city, and it's time for your investors to sell, and you need to harvest the profits, but now you've built this organization that you need to feed, and you don't want to lose the fee income. Well, now you've got a conflict of interest with your investors. It's time for you to sell, and yet you want to maintain it because you've got whatever 2,000 employees there, so now you've got a conflict of interest. Whereas in third-party management, you terminate, you move on, and you're able to financially breathe and adjust in different markets. But in third-party management, it has problems too, where they'd like to collect all the money and make all the decisions and send you what's left over. So we don't allow that. We use third-party management. We do the funding like I just described. We use their personnel capabilities, but they cannot hire or fire anybody without our asset manager's approval. We control all that. We live with them on a multi-week basis, several times a week, and work with them and teammates. So we really have a hybrid concept. You didn't realize what you were asking when you said that.
Oh, we're right in the thick of it. So we're appreciating all of this right now.
We have failed at both. I wasn't impressed with our own ability to self-manage. I thought we could do a much better job. I wasn't impressed with third-party management, but having this hybrid concept with accountability, we really put all of our effort into asset management, and those asset managers hold everybody accountable on the properties. And I'll tell you how intense it is. People think that if you're not managing yourself, you're not involved. We monitor everything. We know how many people walked in the door, how many tours you made that day. We know that Betty Jo, who's the leasing agent, has had a 73% closing ratio on all of her tours for the last year. And all of a sudden, the last month, it's gone down to 33%. And we want to know why. I mean, we get down to that detail. And we found out that Betty Jo had a problem with the manager, and now they're fighting, and her closing ratio went down to 33%. And we verify when somebody replaces a disposal or a dishwasher, we verify that it better not have been able to be fixed. If we can fix it, we fix it. we just don't replace everything. And we monitor everything like that. We go onto properties where people pick up their trash 5 times a week. There's no property in America I don't think, where you need to pick up trash 5 times a week. We cut that down to 3 times. Now you've saved 27% on your trash bill. I mean, the details are important. And in multifamily, you make money a nickel at a time and you lose money a nickel at a time.
For sure. Thank you.
Like, do you have a mentorship
Yeah,
program?
no kidding. When can we sign up?
I know. Like,
Yeah.
I thought we were micromanaging when we did all that. Because that's
Well, it's part of accountability. You know, we have things that are well run, and one of the benefits for us when you really pay attention to what you do in the details as an operator, whether small or large, is when you get things down to a systematic process and you pay attention to your operations, you can go in and look at buying another property, and this guy is running his expenses at whatever, 6,000 a unit or whatever, pick a number. But because you know what your situation is and what your capability is, you can run that same apartment community for 5,300 a unit or 4,700 a unit or whatever. You have that confidence that you can go in and run things much more efficiently. And I'm oftentimes ranting and raving to people about how unprofessional multifamily management is, and it's true, the bar is pretty low, but it's also that unprofessional environment in multifamily management that gives us the profit opportunities. So I hate it, and yet I'm thankful for it at the same time. One thing I thought I'd share with you guys, just as a methodology, when COVID hit, COVID was such a blessing for us, and we did not know whether, nobody had written that book before, right? I mean, we didn't know whether we were going to be 50% vacant in 3 months, or we were, at the time COVID hit, we were 98.5% occupied nationwide in all of our properties. And we didn't know. We didn't know if we were going to be 50% or 60 or whatever the problem was. So instead of cutting staff, we added staff. And we added staff to do nothing but sit on the phones for 6 hours a day and call our residents across the country. We needed to figure out, are people losing their jobs? Are they going to move out? Can they not afford to pay? We needed some advanced intelligence, of how big of a problem is this? So they started calling, across the country and dealing with people. And we started a triage system where we, how many older people do we have? How many health problems do we have? How many, whatever, this and that. And so they're calling all these people across the country 6 hours a day. We hired 14 people to do this. And we started doing medical deliveries for people. We started doing food deliveries for people that needed it, because people were afraid to go outside of their home. And we were doing medical deliveries. We had a team of people that they were organized, that older people that couldn't talk to their grandkids. We were giving them a laptop computer and showing them how to do Zoom calls and communicate with her. We're meeting their needs, on that basis. And it was such an impact that it became a corporate problem. After about 6 or 7 months, we had people calling in that were complaining about our people. And they said, well, we're upset. We want to talk to somebody in charge. And they said, well, what's the problem? They said, well, Kathy calls me at 6 o'clock every Tuesday night, and she didn't call this week. I said, well, okay. And if you had told me before COVID that you could create community and create ministry over the phone and through the internet, I would have told you were an idiot. And what we found through this is that hands-on communication over the phone and hands-on communication, um, sorry, with our residents was something that could be achieved, and we were able to affect these people. And I'm sorry. We were able to affect these people, and we're just professional grunts, doing the grunt work, and the people loved it. They loved the community by us calling them. We're meeting their needs, and to give you guys an idea, a lot of people think multifamily, all you're doing this is just to the lowest people, the poorest people. One of our communities is in South Houston, League City. Every apartment has its own yacht slip, and the rents start at $6,000 a month. We have other communities in Kansas City where most people are logistical workers, and they're working in warehouses and stuff, and it goes across the board. But these people, needed us, and they had an owner that reached out, and it became a relationship, and it became a community. And I'm so thankful for COVID, because it shows people who we are as Christians. As Christians, we're not better than anybody. We're just different. And when you get hit in the head like COVID or some of these other things, it allows people to observe the fact that this Christian owner and this Christian executive or this Christian boss is different because of the way, he treated me and she treated me. COVID was a great thing for us. We had, a number of people come to know the Lord through that. We helped people mature through that. We helped people be better citizens. We helped people create family relationships. It was just an empowering time. And at the time, we made money. We went into COVID 98.5% occupied. Through COVID and afterwards, we fell to 98% occupied. We lost a half a point. And in many of our markets during COVID and after, we averaged 16% year over year rent increases in many of those markets. I think our lowest market was 5.5 or 6%. So, it worked. The caring for people and creating community was good business, and it's helped us. Not everybody that works for me are Christians. I think about maybe 30% of the people that work for Continental are Christians, but they all sign on to what our mission is and our mission statement and what our values are. But it was something that gave their life significance, because now they were helping people. They weren't just earning money in a career. They were helping people, and they were seeing the value, of affecting people's lives. I mean, the power of influence in our lives is just so great, and you guys all have the ability in your own sphere of influence to perform, and it's exciting to see that. Next time, Ellis is going to schedule a 4-hour call instead of a 1 hour.
Well, listen, I knew you coming on, man. We weren't going to end at the top of the hour. So, I think I've never chatted with you less than 2 hours. So I had to know that's coming. Guys, anything, I mean, David, I want to respect your time, but I mean, I also just know the having you here is really special. So, guys, anything else quickly that anybody would want to share or just ask? Yeah, Cornelia says, Ellis, appreciate inviting David Snyder. He's amazing. Time well spent. Guys, if you would, just thank David in the chat here for his time with us. And David, I would just ask, if you would, before we get out of here today, if you would just pray a blessing over, everyone that's here today. And, as we're really trying to take this calling seriously, if you really would just pray for us, I think that would really mean a lot, and ask you to do that.
Oh, thank you. I'd be happy to. Oh, dear Lord, thank you so much for the opportunity to come together with other people that are catalytic Christians, and that you've called to advance your love and your relationship with people in our own communities. I really pray that you'll send protection to each one of these individuals, and send a attitude of learning and of power, and of the ability to depend on your provision, Lord. We love you, and we know there's all sorts of challenging times right now, politically, economically, all sorts of things, and just lead us and guide us on how we need to conduct ourselves to influence people around us to be a positive force, in their lives, and to show your love in every way that we can. Thank you again, Lord, for this opportunity. Bless Ellis and all of their work here, and we love you so much. Amen.
Amen.
Man, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you here in
Thank you very much,
Scottsdale
David.
soon, David.
Yes, I look forward to it. I told you I was going to do this without crying, so I lied. But
I've also never met with you and you didn't cry, so I don't know. I don't know if you can
That's
do any one
true.
of those things. Go under an hour and not cry.
this
So-
means a lot to me.
Love you, brother. Thank you
Thanks,
so
everyone.
much. All right.
Nice meeting you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. So, man, I don't know about you guys, but I hate office lighting, and I have not figured out how to. Oof. Anyways, wow, what a gem, Dave Snyder. He does a lot of writing for Faith Driven Investor. If you want to read some of the stuff that he's produced, if you just search in David Snyder, Faith Driven Investor, he's produced a lot of articles on the Faith Driven Investor website and is really involved with them. So I would highly recommend reading more about him. So just so we're all clear, I just kind of want to let you know guys what we're doing. We have speakers scheduled all the way through March, just like David. So we have I say we're all the way through April. So I have another speaker coming a month from now. I think I can share who it is. It's Tyler Lyons, who's actually the partner of Hunter Thompson, who many of you know, based here in Phoenix, Arizona. And he's moved here to help build out their multifamily owner-operator department. I thought that was cool. Tyler's clearly not as experienced as a guy like Dave Snyder. However, I think it's really relevant because, here's a guy who's moved to Phoenix to start something. And I want him to kind of share from that lens of like, what's it like to maybe move to a new city? You don't know anyone, you don't have many assets here, and to really start something. And I think it's going to be a really relevant talk. So excited for that. And then next week, we have our second Wednesday of the month. We have those scheduled out to the first quarter. We have our Dave, David, what's his last name? Skipping my mind. Who's going to lead us in worship? So we're still doing our worship calls throughout this quarter as well. And so I just want to invite you guys, first Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month. This is a special time for us to connect as a community. And then the third Wednesday of the month is for our mastermind. If you're still part of the mastermind and you'd like to just come and network and connect and help one another, we will be doing that as well. Just quickly, one other thing I would share. I'm really excited and grateful for this accelerator cohort that we've done. It's culminating next week, and all of the accelerator students will be presenting a one-page business model of like how to go get results they think how they're going to go get results over the next 12 months. And they're going to be presenting that next Tuesday night. If you'd like to join and give input, let me know. I'll send you an invite. But they'll also be sharing that via Slack. And so I would just say, like, if you have a few minutes to open up what they share and give some feedback on it, I know they would really, really appreciate that. So if you see that come through on Slack and you would just be willing to like review it and give them some thoughts and hey, don't do that or do more of this, I think that would be really, really helpful. So I know some of those guys are here, and so that would mean a lot to them. So just look out for that in Slack would be the only request. I want to open up for a few minutes for you, for this community to share anything that's like the happenings, anything that you want to make people aware of. Ken and Rach, again, their weekender is coming up. Friday's the deadline to register, oneconnectionaway.com/weekend. Let's post that again, Cheryl, in the chat. This is a 3-day event with bus tour and food and multifamily touring, all for less than $2,000. Okay. So I think it was just an incredible value if you want to get boots on the ground and actually connect with people who are doing the business and find partners in this business. So, what weekend is that again, Ken?
It starts on February 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. February 22nd in the evening, all day on the 23rd, we'll do a property tour. We'll start doing some teaching in the afternoon. And then the 24th is a Saturday. That's an all-day event until about 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock or so.
Great. Amazing. What else, guys, happening in the community that you want to share? It could be a deal you're working on, a webinar. Just want to hear what's happening. Anything else to share?
We've actually fired our large lender. So if anybody wants to come in and make some really phenomenal money, there's tremendous opportunities right now.
What is that? Like, what is that? Can you be more specific?
Yeah. So on our build to rent project, we now are parceling them off in a way that someone who wants to, maybe doesn't want to do a $10 million loan kind of thing, but they want to come alongside and be actually backed by the asset, to where there's, 10 lots in this case, because all the infrastructure is done and we're just going vertical now. So they could come in at 1.5 million, make some really great money and just be on the debt side, asset backed, the whole works. And so tremendous opportunity there. There's also on the bigger projects, the 160 and 241, we've got $300,000 to $500,000 opportunity there for someone who wants to come in on the debt side as well, and doesn't want to deal with any of the other stuff and wants it about a 12-month or less note.
Cool. Reach out to you, Slack, email. What's your email again?
Don't do Slack. I don't get on there often enough. I'll put my email in here.
Yeah, drop your email in the chat. It'd be helpful. And you could put it in Slack though in the live deal channel just so people see it. I think would be helpful.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But I do not respond on there. I get on there once in a blue moon, and it's always usually too late. So
I get it. I get it. I get it. Anything else?
I have something I can share.
Sure.
Just to let you guys know, I've talked to some of you before about the short-term lending opportunities I have. Those have turned into first lien positions, which is really cool. So a couple people from Kingdom REI have invested. It's a 15% return in 60 days. So it's really great returns, backed by real estate. I can explain the whole model to you if you'd like to hop on a call with me. And Ken and Rachel have been working on it with me to create a structure in which we can take lower amounts than our usual minimum investment by just grouping together with other people that we know and trust, possibly within this community or close friends. And so those are generally 50,000 and up for a minimum investment. So just wanted to throw that out there to you guys, and I'll pop my email in here in case you're interested, or if anybody has any questions.
Cool. That's great. Anybody else? I'll share a last one then. I'm hosting a live webinar tomorrow for our Allied Land Fund. We have a 506B offering and we have a 506C offering. The 506B allows us to bring in non-accredited and accredited investors. If you don't know our motto, we go out and find off-market raw land and then we take that land through an entitlement process, and then we sell that contract to a land developer, or a public company that's building houses is really the best way to describe that. So we're paying a 20% preferred return, and I am going to shut down the 506B offering at the end of this month. So if you're interested, you're not accredited or you are accredited, I'm going to do a live webinar tomorrow. I've been promoting about it, so I'll drop that in the chat as well. If you want to just learn our model and what we're focused here at Allied and doing land, could be pretty cool. And as well as if you're looking to invest into a passive investment opportunity, I'm going to be hosting a webinar tomorrow night. And again, this is the last chance for anyone who's not accredited to invest alongside of me and Allied. So I'll post that down below. So that's really the only other thing I have going on as well. Anything, any learnings or anything anybody wants to share that would be helpful to the community?
Yes, actually, I just learned something that many of you may not know. Last night, do you guys know that 1031 exchanges are not regulated by anybody? Literally, the government demands that a third party does it, but nobody is overseeing those third party. Nobody is, it's not SEC, it's not FDIC, nothing. So that's why there's actually so much fraud in 1031 exchange. And so moving forward, those of you that accept 1031 exchanges into your deals, the reason most of the time that someone will say I'm doing a 1031 exchange and then it falls through at the end is because the exchanger lost their money, literally.
Wow.
So if you are talking with your folks and they want to do a 1031 exchange, they have to identify their exchanger before they close the deal, which is huge, but they want to do their due diligence on that exchanger. You want to make sure that that exchanger is putting their money into a trust account and it's not being commingled with all their other investors and operators. That's huge. That's one of the biggest things that separates the companies that are reputable and those that are not.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right?
It is. Like, for real. I mean, it is kind of confusing to even figure out how to do it. So it doesn't surprise me.
Well, and there's companies that they have it on a sliding scale based on how much money they're talking about, and others that reputable ones, it's just a flat fee and it's like $1,000. I'm like, oh my word, seriously? This is unbelievable. I mean, the range of differences is just unbelievable, and it's because nobody's regulating. So.
I'll throw out there that I've been doing some training on business acquisitions and talks with 2 companies locally here to look at purchasing their business. And so if you guys, at any point are looking for real estate related businesses in your local area and need a little bit of feedback, feel free to give me a call. If you need more in-depth consultation, I'll be getting to that at some point. But just wanted to throw that out there in case you just want someone to chat with it about it. So.
All right. Hey, sure. I want to confirm some times real quick. Looking at this month, I see the 13th. So let me just confirm some times real quick with everybody. So next week, we have our Kingdom REI Power Hour on the 14th at 11. But then in March, we have it for 10 a.m. Why is the time changed? Does like daylight savings time happen sometime between now and March 13th or something happen?
No,
know that?
Yeah,
22nd.
22nd. Is it the power hour,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Power Hour switches to a Wednesday next week.
Yeah. So March
Wednesday,
10th, that might be why.
14.
March 10th is when the time changes. So you think that probably screws us up? Is that why?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I'll
Okay.
go ahead and check that.
Yeah, that's weird. So I don't think 10 a.m. is what we want to keep it at this time, which is 11 a.m.
Is the power hour going to be on Wednesdays moving forward?
Yeah, everything's on Wednesday at this time.
Yep. Wednesday.
But
So that
but
would be,
Yeah, everything should be at this time, this day, this time, through the end of the quarter, Bethany.
Okay.
So just make that change, Cheryl. All right, everybody. Really fun to hang out with you. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Let's see. Jason, come to the webinar. We do distribution starting in January. I see your question. Have a great week. Vox me if anything comes up. Would love to hear from you guys on how things are going. Just shoot me an update. Would love to hear from you. Hit me on Vox. Would love to hear from you. Just shoot me a Voxer.
Oh, Ellis, many folks have asked me, are we going to be doing a spring in person?
We do not have a spring in person scheduled as of now.
Okay,
And
I
we'll
just
not.
decided.
Spring is before summer.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we don't have spring planned.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, definitely not. But we can talk about I'd love to brainstorm with some folks later in the year event as well, but not for the spring. We don't have anything planned.
Okay.
All right, guys, have a great week. See ya.
Bye, guys.